Wow. Okay, so get this. With this new Trump administration, there's a ton of potential changes coming down the pipeline for Social Security. I mean, we're talking federal spending freezes, buyouts for federal workers, and even, get this, the possible elimination of federal income tax. And then on top of all of that, we also have to consider like the Social Security Fairness Act and how all of that fits in. I mean, these are some big moves for sure. And they could seriously impact your financial future. So,
yeah,
if you want to stay ahead of the game, make sure you hit the subscribe button.
Yeah, it's a lot to process for sure. It really does feel like a giant puzzle, like all these pieces, because on the surface, they just seem like totally separate policy decisions, but, they're actually all interconnected and could have a big impact on Social Security. So like understanding how they all fit together is key to seeing what might be coming next.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, let's start unpacking all of this, all right? And let's start with the federal spending freeze. So, I mean, the goal there is to reduce federal spending, obviously, which I guess could free up some funds for programs like Social Security, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's not necessarily a direct correlation.
Right. First of all, a judge just recently put the brakes on the freeze. So, I mean, there's already a legal battle going on. And even if the freeze, eventually goes through, there's no guarantee that those funds would automatically go towards Social Security, And then there's the whole question of how exactly they're going to cut spending, like what programs are on the chopping block, basically. So, I mean, it's definitely complicated, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's that buyout program, right, for federal workers. So, like, the Trump administration is offering these incentives for people to resign, sounds pretty harmless at first, right?
But here's the thing. 60,000 Social Security Administration employees are eligible for this buyout. Like, that's a lot of people. So imagine, like, even a small percentage of them, right, just decide to take it. Well, I mean, the Social Security Administration is already, dealing with backlogs and processing delays and stuff. So losing all of those experienced people could make those delays even worse, So
it's kind of like instead of streamlining the system, this could actually make it worse.
Exactly, yeah. And what does that mean for the average person? Well, it could mean waiting even longer to receive your benefits, basically. It really shows, I think, how important it is to, think about those unintended consequences of policy decisions.
Yeah, totally. And speaking of those unintended consequences, let's talk about the Social Security Fairness Act, right? So this was passed under the previous administration, and it's supposed to give, much needed benefits, increases to all those millions of public servants, right? Teachers, firefighters, and all that. It sounds like a good thing, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, on paper, it's a great thing. Absolutely. But there's a catch. Remember all those staffing shortages and funding issues we were talking about? Well, they're impacting how fast these benefits can actually be processed and, delivered. So people who are eligible for these increases might end up having to wait over a year to actually see them.
So, like, we've got this solution in place, but the system itself can't keep up. It kind of makes you wonder, like, what does it actually take to, to implement a good idea well? Is it more funding, better management, or something else entirely? I mean, what do you guys think about all this? Let us know in the comments down below. And hey, if you're liking this conversation, please give the video a like. We'll be back with more in a sec.
It really shows you just how many challenges there are when it comes to any large system, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like, we can have all the good intentions in the world, but if the structure is not there to actually support those intentions, like, the results could be totally different than you expect. It's like, I don't know, having a brand new Ferrari, but no roads to drive it on, right? And speaking of shaking things up, I think we have to address the elephant in the room, which is Trump's proposal to just completely abolish federal income tax. I mean, that really made me do a double take.
Yeah, that's certainly a bold idea. So, like, the idea is that they're going to replace the revenue we would lose from income tax with tariffs, right? But that raises a pretty important question. How would that impact the funding for Social Security? Because right now, a big chunk of Social Security's revenue comes from payroll taxes, which are directly tied to income.
So, okay, so if we just eliminate income tax completely, are we basically just, like, pulling the rug out from under Social Security?
Well, it's not quite that simple. People who support this plan say that the increased revenue from tariffs would more than make up for the loss of income tax. They think that it would actually give Social Security even more money than it has now.
Okay, but tariffs are, like, super complicated, right? And they can have all these unpredictable impacts on the economy. I mean, how can we know for sure that making this change would actually be good for Social Security?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? There are a lot of different opinions about what the economic impacts of this proposal would be. Like, some economists are worried that it could lead to higher prices for consumers and even like trade wars. But other people say that it could help domestic manufacturing and create jobs.
It kind of feels like we'd be taking a huge gamble. And Social Security would be stuck right in the middle of it.
It definitely is a high-stakes situation, and it's super important for everyone to understand, like, both sides of the argument, you know? I mean, on one hand, yeah, having more funding would be great, right? But on the other hand, there's so much uncertainty and so many risks.
Yeah, exactly. We've gone over a ton of information today, and it's pretty clear that the future of Social Security is, well, uncertain, to say the least. I mean, we've got possible spending freezes, changes to the workforce, benefit changes, and even the possibility of a total overhaul of our whole tax system. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, it really makes you realize, like, how connected all of this stuff actually is. I mean, we started out talking about spending freezes and buyouts for federal employees, and now we're talking about, like, completely changing the entire tax system. It's crazy how it all, like, feeds back into Social Security.
It really does. It just goes to show you that, you know, even policies that seem totally unrelated can have a huge impact on each other, especially when you're talking about something as important as Social Security.
For sure. And that's why it's so important to, like, you know, stay informed and keep up with everything that's going on, because all of these decisions that are being made now could have a big impact down the road, whether you're, you know, about to retire or just starting out in your career. Absolutely. I mean, Social Security is supposed to be there as a safety net for millions of Americans. So it's crucial for everyone to, you know, understand how all of these changes could affect their benefits, like how long they might have to wait to receive them, or even just the overall, you know, financial health of the whole program.
Right. So, okay, so where do we go from here? I mean, we've talked about a lot of different changes, some good, some not so good. But the one thing that's clear is that, like, the future of Social Security is pretty uncertain right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why it's more important than ever for people to, you know, make their voices heard, share your thoughts and your concerns and your ideas, because ultimately the future of Social Security is everyone's responsibility. And having, you know, informed conversations about it is, like, the only way to make sure we end up with policies that work for everyone.
Totally. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, but it feels like we've only just scratched the surface. I mean, this whole situation is constantly evolving. So we're going to keep, you know, bringing you guys updates and analysis as we learn more. So if you're enjoying this conversation, please hit that like button and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes.
And as we wrap up here, I just want to leave you with, like, one final thought. So imagine a world where, you know, there's no more federal income tax at all. How do you think we could make sure that Social Security stays funded and accessible to everyone in the long run?
It's a tough question for sure, but I think it's an important one to think about because, I mean, we need to figure out how to protect this program for, you know, future generations.
Yeah, that's a great question. And a great place to end things for today. So keep those questions coming, keep the conversation going, and we'll see you guys next time.